December 14th of year 2020. Well, I'd like to say good evening to all my viewers, those of you who are watching here in the state, around the United States, around the nation, and also around the world. So tonight it's a wonderful evening, as we discussed it last week, that the 14th of this month is very critical, and in fact, it did come. So we have quite a few items that we have on the menu for you tonight that we'd like to go over. First off, we'd like to pay homage to one of our Haitian tenor by the name of Isaac Buteau, who passed away, great tenor. We send our condolences to his family. It's a great Haitian tenor. We lost, he was also a nurse through COVID, and may he rest in peace. That's how we like to start this evening. Thank you. Well, with regards to COVID, as you know, COVID is still ramping, and we have top 300,000 deaths in the U.S. This is beyond belief. Just this morning, as you know, the first individual has received her COVID. It's a nurse by the name of Sandra Lindsay. She's a nurse in New York. She's the first U.S. Resident to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. So the COVID this is on the way. It's been distributing throughout the states, and FedEx and UPS have taken the mantle in making sure that they are delivered on time. And then we send out kudos to FedEx and UPS for doing such wonderful work. We applaud them for the hard work. Again, we hope that this disease, that common enemy that we have, will put to rest very soon. And next, early voting also. The next thing we have on the agenda is early voting in Georgia. That started today. As of 7 o'clock this morning, the great state of Georgia has started the early voting in the Senate race. Those of you who live in the state of Georgia, if you could go ahead and cast your ballot. At this point, it's very important. Either way, again, at homage at Robert DeVerney show, we're not here to persuade you anywhere, but we just want to make sure that you exercise that God-given right, that you exercise this. It's a fundamental right that we have as citizens of the United States, that we exercise this right. So go ahead and start casting your ballot here in the state of Georgia, which began this morning at 7 o'clock, and then go ahead and do that. Again, next thing we have, last week we talked about the safe harbor. We did go over that. Safe harbor was last Monday, December 7th. Okay, it's a provision in Title III of the U.S. Constitution. Okay, in pursuit of Article 2. What it is in detail is if states have certified the election for presidential, that conclusive upon Congress. In other words, since last week, we knew for sure that President-elect Joe Biden was the presumptive president, of course. But again, we have a series of steps that we must go through. Again, last week was safe harbor, and then now this week here, this Monday, the 14th, all the states and their electors have certified the election. In other words, when we voted on November 3rd, we cast our ballot on toward these electors, and these electors actually cast the ballot on our behalf this morning and make it official. But we still have one more day. We're not there yet. So remember that we have December 7th, December 14th. We have one more day. Again, this is the United States. That's how politicians do their work. And then it's a system that we have in place. It's been working with no hiccups for over the past 224 years. No problem whatsoever. Now we have January 6th. January 6th. January 6th is coming up. That's when the vice president, the current vice president, Mr. Mike Pence, will actually go on the Senate floor and then confirm the president of the United States. So we're 14 days later, so the inauguration can take place. So we'll still have a lot of stuff. We don't know what's going to happen on January 6th. I mean, that's what makes it interesting. So we have to stay tuned and then remember that that's the beauty of the American politics. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you active. It keeps you engaged, and that's the beauty of it. We're not there yet, but we three-quarter of the way. We're three-quarter of the way there. So I think, and it will come. All right. So all right. So I'd like to just before I jump on the next segment here, I'd like to say that kudos to Mrs. Lovely Ambrose, who's just say hi from the great city of Miami. Also, Mr. Odelson, my man, from I'd like to say hello to everyone, and of course, all right, really, Mr. Ambrose is not doing lesson plan this evening. He's probably the second one behind Lovely. I mean, there'll be a prize for those of you who log in first, and then I believe Lovely tonight is the ultimate winner. Again, there may be a stimulus on the way, but stay tuned. There may be a stimulus. It's on the works. Although Congress cannot deliver, but we at the Robert DeVerney Show, we will make sure that you have a happy holidays to the best of our ability here. So we're going to make it fun. And then what you could do in the meantime, I should point this out. Please call a friend and let them know that the Robert DeVerney Show is on. If it's Monday, if it's 8 p.m., it's the Robert DeVerney Show, the real deal. So there's a time right now to go ahead and text a friend, say, hey, the Robert DeVerney Show is logging in. Make sure that they type in my name into the YouTube segment there, and then Robert DeVerney, and then make sure that does the subscribe, and that way they can have all the important information. All right. Now, the next news I have for you, I mean, this whole week, this past week has been fascinating. We have the Supreme Court of the United States of America, SCOTUS. There was a vote. Remember that the Attorney General of Texas, by the name of a gentleman named Paxson, he brought a lawsuit, wanted the Supreme Court to hear about what happened in Pennsylvania, and then not only that, he wanted to include the Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and also Arizona. All these, he wanted these votes to be cast out. So the U.S. Supreme Court, I mean, there's still people with backbones. There's still people who believe in ethics, and there are those who are adamant about the law, and they would uphold it. And this is a U.S. Constitution. This is the U.S. Presidential election. This is not something that you can play with. This is not some football game or what have you. This is not tic-tac-toe that you may be playing. Again, and the U.S. Supreme Court, by a vote of 7-2. 7-2. So in other words, rejected that request by Attorney General Paxson of Texas. Again, you know, Texas always take the lead when it comes to election. They were the first one to impose ID law. I mean, if you remember, if you recall, a couple shows that I have in the early part of September, we talked about that. As you could see, a lot of driver licenses have closed, but Texas started the whole thing. And then I'm not surprised that Attorney General Paxson was the conductor of that movement. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court vote of 7-2. And the shocking news is, I'm sure a lot of conservatives and also the current president was not too pleased, because 3 of the appointees that he appointed to in the Supreme Court, by the name of Gorsuch, Justice Barrett, and also Brett Kavanaugh. These were 3 of them Trump appointees. They didn't think it was a good case, and then they said, well, we're not going to entertain the idea of even hear that case. So it was DOA, dead on arrival. So they did not go that way. It was a blow. Again, we know that was coming, but then again, we did not think that we would have so many attorney general around the state, around the nation, would actually contribute to this lawsuit. Again, it was dead on arrival. And not only that, we have a total of 126 conservative in the House of Representatives who actually signed onto this nonsense. So America, we've come to a point where as we're wondering, where's our sanity, especially our elected officials. We pray that they come to the good sense and the good judgment, and then America can move on and then taking care of the business of the people. Right now we have 300,000 deaf, and then we still have high unemployment. And there's a package in both the House and the Senate of the stimulus, which has not passed yet. So we need to do the people's business, and this is the reason why we elected as public officials to do the people's business. And then at this point, they're not doing a good job. So I encourage you to contact your congressman, your senator. Let them know that, hey, we're hurting at home, and there are things that need to be done instead of wasting time on nonsense. And then let's move on. Okay, that's very important. I wanted to open this parentheses and at the same time close it immediately. Well, I'd like to say good evening to my dear friend, Pastor Petroni, who just logged in. Well, kudos to you, our pastor here, Pastor Petroni. Also, the lovely Mrs. Michelle just signed in. Thank you for logging in. You guys are looking lovely. I can tell I can tell. I may not seen you, but I can tell you're looking lovely tonight. All right, hanging there. Now, another point I'd like to point out to you. I'm sure most of you heard of Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, of course, he's from what state? Texas, of course. You know, I don't know, for some reason about Texas. Texas is a unique state. They're very unique. Everything in Texas is big, and then even the senator have a big mouth by the name of Mr. Ted Cruz. Mr. Ted Cruz is a brilliant attorney. He was a solicitor for William Rehnquist, and in the 90s, he's a brilliant guy. He wanted to argue that that case that the state of Texas wanted to bring toward the Supreme Court with the other 17 states, but that didn't get to. I mean, I'm sure Mr. Cruz would love to steal the spotlight, which he admired. I think all politicians. I'm about to say something which is very true. I mean, if a politician, anybody of you is listening to me here, you can tell me if I'm wrong. Most politicians, they love to grab the attention. They love to be the center of attention. So unfortunately, this time, Mr. Cruz, who's famous back in, as you could remember, in 2013, he famously known for speaking in the U.S. Senate for 21 hours straight. Imagine that. Who would do that? And I mean, Mr. Cruz, Senator Cruz, actually held the Senate for 21 hours, and at one point he was reading the Dr. Seuss. I mean, because once you sit down, and then your time is up, because you could see. I mean, the beauty about the Senate, you could open the Bible and start reading from Genesis to Revelation. It's your time. You could, yeah, but the minute you stop or you sit down, your time is up. So Mr. Cruz actually stood there for 21 hours. He was the whole thing he was arguing was the famous the Affordable Care Act. There was a provision in it that he didn't like, so he wanted to. But I mean, that's how he was known. And then shortly thereafter, as you know, in 2016, 2015, he launched his presidential bid, which was unsuccessful. Mr. Trump really trashed this guy like there's no tomorrow. I mean, now he's defending him like there's no tomorrow. So you wonder, people do have a short-term memory, or is it the fact that we're going to leave it as is. All right. So I'd like to say to my viewers here, I'm sure you guys are well educated when it comes to issues that are affecting the nation, and also the entire Senate. I'm sure most of these guys, most senators they have a degree in law. The majority of them, not all of them are lawyers, but I mean, for you to bring a case. I want to go back to this. That's the reason why from the get-go there was no panic. I mean, President Trump had said before the election that this will go to the Supreme Court. So in other words, he knew. I mean, he expected the result of what happened. But again, he thought by bringing things of that nature that would eventually propel the U.S. Supreme Court to take a look at this case. But again, that's not the case. So the United States Supreme Court can only deal into cases that involve interstate, okay, cases that involve federal issues. All right, they don't get to interpret state that let's say, for instance, what happened over in Pennsylvania. As you recall, in Pennsylvania, there was a law in 2019 that passed. I mean, with regards to the election coming up, and then the House in Pennsylvania, nor the Senate, they did not act on it at all. That law was it passed, and then no one said anything until this year election. So now the Supreme Court is not in a position to tell the state of Pennsylvania how to run their election. That's not the position. So I'm sure most of the senators they know about it, but then again, they will throw the mud anyway. So to me, it's a disservice to our nation. It tells me that you don't have any regard for your citizens, because you're here to educate us. You here to keep us on the right path. Okay, not to bring some bogus case. It's that are laughable. They would not go anywhere. So I think that was a very disservice to the nation, and that these senators and Mr. Giuliani as well, who are very, I mean, it was the mayor of America, I mean, in 2001, I mean, to see what's happening right now. So we wonder how far can this go, and how much can we take? So again, as you know, today, pretty much, we're at 99.9%. Sure that Mr. Biden will be inaugurated on January 20th at noon. Yet, the remaining 0.1% that remaining has to do with Mr. Mike Pence, who's a current VP, who would do a roll call on January 6th. So anything could happen. So if I were you, if you guys have not gone back to work yet, will not be back to work by the 6th, should pull your popcorn and turn on your TV and watch the deliberation that will be happening on the Senate floor on January 6th. Nothing's yet. What I'd like to say, kudos to Dr. Azar, just logged in. Dr. Azar's a bit late this evening again. Mr. Ambrose beat Dr. Azar tonight. Last week she won, but this week Mr. Ambrose, another educator in the system, beat her big time. Well, good evening, Dr. Azar. Thank you for logging in. On a different news, ladies and gentlemen, we have to bring you the news. I know you guys may be tied up with a lot of other stuff, and then this is my life. I love politics. I watch the news. I keep on the news. I mean, on my iPhone, on my radio. I mean, you name it. We have breaking news this evening that Mr. William Barr, Mr. William Barr is the Attorney General, the AG, is scheduled to step down on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. What happened? Well, as you know, ever since the election, Mr. Barr, according to Mr. Trump, was not pleased with his handling of the election. In other words, Mr. Barr should have come and say, well, there was fraud, because this is what the commander-in-chief is saying, so you should be on the same, you should be singing the same tune, or in other words, singing the same chorus. But Mr. Barr, who tried to redeem himself and did not go that far to call the election rigged, or to call any mismanagement or fraud in the election. He did not see that. I mean, this is the guy who was on top of the justice system, so he knows a thing or two, which I'm sure he knows. I mean, he's been there before. So he could not bring himself to call the election rigged or was there any fraud. So Mr. President Trump was not pleased with it, so there was a lot of tension. But today they had a meeting in the White House. Mr. Trump said it was a great meeting. I don't know what you call a great meeting. I mean, you only have like, what, 37 days left until inauguration. Why would you change a captain at the Justice Department? But Mr. Barr has made it official. He will be stepping down on December 23rd. I have great respect for Mr. Barr. I mean, of all the people in the administration, he really seems like someone who had a cool head. Unfortunately, he has to step down this way. He just to spend time with his family for the holiday. Again, this is what we have going on right now. Yeah, I encourage you to stay tuned. There is much more to come. And the on another note, the Senate and with is currently working on a bipartisan bill of the $908 billion stimulus package, which will go toward the states and businesses. So again, those of you who's waiting for that $1,200, unfortunately, it's not going to happen. And we unless when Mr. Biden do swearing in on the 20th, they may put a package together. But then again, I'm sure most of you are still waiting for that $50,000 write-off toward your student loan. With this, it's still there. They're still talking about it, and this is the top priority for the incoming administration. So we look forward to it. Okay. So I'd like to take any questions. If you guys have any questions, this is the time to do it now. I mean, we would like to take questions from you, and as we're here to inform you and give you the most important information that are needed in this time. Okay, so it's very important that we take take note of what's going on and form a friend. All right, okay. And I'm waiting. While I'm waiting for some questions right now, I'm going to make a few announcements. Today is the 14th. Next week is the 21st. Will be 4 days before Christmas. So we hope to celebrate next our first Christmas together. Those of you who's a great my viewers from YouTube, I encourage you to make sure you're logging next week to the 21st. Well, we will do something very special. Again, everything that we do here at the Robert DuVernay Show is just for you. We have you in mind. Every news that we're breaking, everything that we do it with you in mind. Just so you know. Thank you. Dr. Azor, just the runoff early voting started today. Yes, if you live in Georgia, please vote or remind your friends to vote. Very important, Dr. Azor. I brought that up to my viewers at the top of the segment that the runoff started this morning, and if they have any friends over there in Georgia, tell them to go. Give them a ride. I mean, go vote. It's very important. Exercise that's right. It's very important. Very important. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you, what I would want you to do, some of you may want, well, next week is Christmas week, right? You would wonder, what would the Robert DuVernay Show desire, wish to have? So what I wish to have is that you stay safe, practice the 6 feet distance, and also call a friend, a family member. Let them know that what Robert DuVernay would love for the show is to have more viewers tapping into this segment. Because, you know, the good news must be shared. All right, is that correct? So I encourage you to call a friend or family member and make sure they subscribe to the Robert DuVernay Show. I'm sure there's as long as you tap the Robert ROBERT and then DuVernay DUVERNY, and then make sure that when you guys tap in it, tell your friends, don't just accept, well, okay, just click on the name that pops up. There's a DuVernay with an NAY, but you tell them to search. Once they write my name, Robert DuVernay, then hit search, and that search will automatically populate my name, and then you would see a gentleman with a black suit on, and then this is the one that you want to log into. All right, so it's very important. So this will be my Christmas. I mean, those of you who want to see the show broaden throughout the nation, throughout the world, this is how you can help the Robert DuVernay Show. This will be your gift to me, is to tell a friend, hey, please log into the Robert DuVernay Show. Beg or sign up, subscribe. You know, you see a friend at work, at the school, at the at church, you know, and you see a friend at the grocery store. Hey, there's this gentleman here, Robert DuVernay. And man, he has a great show that comes on every Monday. If it's Monday, if it's 8 p.m., it's the Robert DuVernay Show, the real deal. All right. Okay, I just have a question here. Wow, by Dr. Azor. What's your take on the vaccine? Trump does get credit for that. He did say it will be available at the end of the year. Of course. Well, you have to give credit to whom credit is due. All right. So although this the rollout of this whole thing, the COVID, as you know, that we had our first case here in the U.S. In January, and then we were in the dark. We did not know much about it. But I understand when you're dealing with such an issue that you did not, you're not ready for it. Put it this way, okay? You're not ready for it, and then the economy was doing so well. So now, if you were to throw this out there, really, think about it. It's like you're throwing a monkey wrench, into the system. So everything will be roller coaster. So you didn't want that. So I understand the administration for not being preemptive about it at the very beginning in January. Um, but then again, when it was made known, I think they should have done a better job and mandate people to wear a mask and then put emphasis. Because as leaders, we people look up to us. I mean, at the Robert DeVerney show, for example, I could not say anything on live. I mean, think about it. I mean, I have people who look forward to the show. If I were to come here and not giving you great news and then things that are relevant to you, you wouldn't be coming back here. So I think as leaders, we have a job, we have a duty, especially as a public servant. We hold these to be um, sacred. So we have to be truthful to the people that we serve. And once we realize that, we'll be fine. And then they expect from us. And then if we tell our people that we're gonna fight this thing, they'll believe you. But now we have 300,000 deaths. Okay, and the first vaccine, I mean, just to point to your vaccine, was administered this morning in New York. We have a nurse by the name of Sandra Lindsay. She's in the ICU in New York. She's one of the she's in the ICU unit, and then she's been on the front line. So she was the first one to get the vaccine this morning in the U.S. And last week we had an older, beautiful young lady in her 90s and in the UK who was the first one. I mean, I'd like to say kudos to my women out there. They are the first one to get this vaccine, both in the UK and the US. So the women are very strong, and then I'm always a great supporter of the women, and then it's a great thing. Now, with regard to the vaccine, what is my take? My take is that this is a vaccine that's been. I still have some doubts about the vaccine because for us to come around with something less than a year, we know about this thing well, intelligence knew about it in December, and then because I was watching the news and I've seen a lot of people in China with masks on. I said, "What's wrong with these people?" And then and I didn't make too much of it. And January came around, and so on and so forth, and in February, March, we were in big trouble. So now you figured from when did they start working on it? From March till December. So in the span of 9 months. So yeah, I pray that the vaccine works well for those of you who are on the front line who need it, and hopefully not all of us will need it. So again, I encourage you to be informed on this vaccine, and then do your best. And then it's a tough one. If you have to take the vaccine, you take it. And if you have to take the vaccine, you have to. And if that's your only way out, all right. So it's very important that we do that. So and then again, that's a plan that just unrolled. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, they're still debating. Remember that the FDA just finally issued an emergency waiver because this thing there's still doubts about it. But we just marked 300,000 today, 300,000 deaths. Think about it. So the government really had to put the feet down and then issue an emergency notice to distribute this vaccine. By a lot of them at Pfizer, and then so we have to wait and see. I mean, as you know, the vaccine has two phases, and then they're giving you a first dose right now. There's going to be another dose you will be getting down the road. But we, based on the experts, and we may see some sense of normalcy sometime by fall next year. So that's what we pray for. That's my hope, that we have a sense of normalcy again in this great nation, and then we can have Thanksgiving, of course, next year, God's willing, and also Christmas. And hopefully, all the viewers on the Robert DeVerney show can come together as a unit and celebrate. Isn't that, it will be beautiful? All right. I have another question here by Mr. Ambrose. Can someone get fired from the job if they required you to take the vaccine but you don't want it? That's a good question, Mr. Ambrose. As far as this vaccine, can you be fired for not taking it? Well, if you have legitimate reason not to take this vaccine, I mean, because remember that I should point this out to you. We just had a case in UK. As you know, UK rolled that vaccine last week, and there's already cases where some folks who maybe are allergic to some. I'm not an expert in the medical field, but again, I have good sources, and then I can relate that to you. That they are allergic to there's some ingredient in that vaccine that somehow did not go well with these folks. So like I said, this is just rolled out. They don't know the efficacy of this vaccine, the efficacy of the vaccine. I'm sorry, and then they're still working on it. So now, if you have reason not to take this vaccine, you have to should just show it off, and then take it to your doctor, and then they give you a waiver. You may not have to take it. There may be some. You may want to have to wear a mask on a regular basis for a certain time until this thing. But then again, you should not be getting fired. But this is still the United States of America. You do not. They cannot fire you for not wanting to take the vaccine. As long as you have legitimate reason. I'm sure a lot of people who, depending on their religious background or the religious belief, certain things they do not do. There's provision within the U.S. Constitution that will that are in place that will protect you from getting fired for not wanting to take a vaccine. All right. Thank you so much. All right. I, I wonder, Dr. is all right there. I mean, she's the best. I mean, I don't care how it is, what Trump is doing. She's gonna put a smile on your face. I can go back to church. Yes, of course. And you can go back to church. But most churches have been operating on low scale. They most of them apply the 6 feet distance, and then the whole flock are not at church, from my understanding. At my church, right, my local church, we do meet on a regular basis, but again, we spread out. You see, we observe the 6 feet, and then my pastor is very knowledgeable of the system, and he makes sure that his followers exercise that. So yes, I'm sure you can go back to. I'm sure you've been having church at home, and then I'm sure you probably miss your fellow members. And yes, you can go back to church. I'm sure until things get better, you may not have the large group that you are accustomed to, but I'm sure most churches have been functioning. And from what I know, in the state of Florida and everywhere else, and most clubs, most clubs, most restaurants are open. So why not church, right? Amen to this. All right. Okay. Okay. Mrs. Theodore. Well, thank you for logging in. Mrs. Theodore just said that although she heard that after you take the vaccine, you still have to wear a mask. Yes, of course, of course. Because just because you take the vaccine, that doesn't mean that. I mean, you kill that virus that's out there. Think about it. It takes time, So you still have to wear a mask, because when you wear a mask, what it does, you not only you protecting the person around you, but the person next to you also, you've been protected from that person as well. So it's a give and take. It's a two-way street. So it's important that you wear that mask, because you could be um, affecting the individual next to you. So I think yeah, that's part of it. You heard right, Mrs. Theodore. Although you take the vaccine, you still have to wear the mask. That's correct. And yes. Yes. All right. Oh, okay. Well, Pastor Batroni, who's in the healthcare industry here, just confirm it. She said, yes, you still have to wear a mask afterwards. Yes, correct. That's very important. Thank you so much. Again, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great show. I have quite a few of you here. You guys were engaged. And I see Pastor Petroni mentioned Ted Cruz, but it's amazing. I should probably be a big fan of Ted Cruz. With his conservative views, I mean that's very important. The guy is a scholar. He's gifted. He to me he's well versed, and unfortunately he did not get a chance to argue his case before the Supreme Court. But he did back in 2000. You guys remember the Gore versus Bush during the 2000 election that we had, that saga. Then again, the state of Florida, actually, we were on the news every second, so we decided that election. So Mr. Cruz was the solicitor who actually argued that case before the Supreme Court on behalf of the Bush administration. Would be coming in after the election. So thank you again. Thank you so much. If there's not any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Again, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for logging in. For again, tell a friend that the Robert Verney Show comes on every Monday at 8 p.m. Again, if it's Monday, if it's 8 p.m., it's the Robert Verney Show. So I look forward to seeing you again next Monday, which will be the 21st. And just it's the week before Christmas. I forget, actually, it's a few days before Christmas. Next week will be Christmas week. I would try to make the show a little shorter because I'm sure most of you will have to go shopping. Again, my gifts. If any of you wanna send me a gift, well, subscribe someone on my behalf, and that will be the ultimate gift. I look forward to it. Let's see if we can bring this thing to 10,000. All right, people, we can do it, right? We're Americans. We have the spirit of the can-do attitude. Let's do it. Again, thank you so much again for logging in. Oh, okay, I'm not going to leave you guys without not answering this question. Dr. Azor, do you think there might be another political party since the GOP has turned to Trump party? That's a good question. I think it's going to take some time. I'm sure the Republican Party will be reminiscing of what happened the last 4 years during the Biden administration to see how they can regroup, because that's not the way. I mean, because they're gonna bring a lot of people in. I mean, those who are on the far right, they're always gonna be on the far. But then again, you don't win any election by either going to the far left or to the far right. So there's got to be a consensus where you come in the middle. So whereas you bring people from both ends, and then that's how you win the election. Again, that's not the right model that we as Americans, as a democracy, that's what we want to portray around the world. Because remember that the world looks up to us when it comes to democracy, when it comes to election. So I pray that those in offices will come to the good sense and say, you know what, we can do better than this. We are Americans. We are the shining light on the hill, the shining city on the hill. And this is what they look for. Other nations aspire to be like Americans. So the far left, the far right, that's good, right? We have to come in the middle. So I still hope, I still hold that we're going to get better. And the next 4 years, that's what I pray for, that the Republican Party somehow do a self-evaluation. Is that the party of Ronald Reagan? Is that the party of Lincoln? These are the questions they need to ask themselves. They need to reconnect with reality. Until they do so, it's going to be hard to win a presidential election. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. It has been a wonderful time to be with you this evening. I look forward to seeing you again next week, the 21st, God's willing, a few days before Christmas. again, I wish you have a wonderful evening. Again, if it's Monday, if it's 8 p.m., it's the Robert Verney Show, the real deal. Until next time, have a good evening. Thank you.